snowing outside. I don't really like that. Hello, good morning everyone. Alright guys, well my notes are loading, but I can just do the introduction. Hi guys, welcome to this video. Today we are going to be talking about how I got into MIT. Just such a clickbaity title. To be completely honest with you guys, I have no idea why I got into MIT, and neither does any other MIT student. But what I can do is I can tell you about what activities I did growing up, my family background, what I did to go above and beyond in math and science, what I wrote my essays about, and finally what I think my personality traits are that helped me get in. With that said, let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is what were my extracurricular activities. So we'll start with sports. When I was very young, I did Taekwondo. I did Taekwondo for like 10 years, and I ended up getting to a 3rd degree black belt. This was probably not super relevant to my college application given that this was elementary through late middle school, but it was a pretty foundational part of who I was. I think Taekwondo teaches you two things. One, there are a lot of principles associated with Taekwondo, like humility, hard work, things like that. At the beginning of every Taekwondo class, you say a pledge, and I remember, I said it every day for the 10 years that I did Taekwondo. And then the second thing that Taekwondo teaches you is, as a girl, it teaches you to feel like you can defend yourself. It teaches you to feel tough. I was never silly enough to think that as like this 10 to 12-year-old kid, I could win in a fight against people who are bigger than me. But it is something about feeling like you can defend yourself that gives you a lot of confidence, and I think that that gave me a certain perspective in life. So my early sports life was all Taekwondo, and then I started playing tennis. I don't remember if I really enjoyed tennis or I got really good at tennis quickly. Maybe a little bit of both. I started tennis in late middle school and I played through high school. I ended up getting good enough to make the varsity team my freshman year, which was really lucky and awesome, and introduced me to some of my best friends from high school. So I played tennis for 4 years on the varsity team at Westlake High School, go Shaps. But more importantly, I focused a lot on tennis outside of school. There are USTA tournaments and there are lots of tennis academies in Austin. I went to Mac 360 Tennis Academy, and then I went to St. Stephen's, which my mom helped me get a scholarship to because we could not afford that place. Continuing on to other activities I did Girl Scouts most of my childhood, and I ended up getting to the Gold Award. Getting your Gold Award in Girl Scouts is the highest level award that you can get. It's almost like a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout thing, except for I think the bar for the Eagle Scouts is way more challenging, which is pretty sexist, but whatever. I also did this improv club my whole childhood called Destination Imagination, or DI for short. My team was called the Dill Pickles, and it was so fun. I honestly loved this so much. It taught me a lot about just being silly and being yourself and getting out there in front of people, being creative. Destination Imagination was awesome. I know it's silly. Highly recommend it. Can someone tell me what the fuck is wrong with my camera? Okay, next let's talk about going above and beyond in math and sciences, which is definitely a critical piece of getting into MIT. I went to a public high school. I took as many APs as possible, and I definitely had a big focus on math and science. I actually took a lot of classes at my local community college, which counted for credit in my high school. I got a lot of my history and humanities classes out of the way at the community college so that I could take more challenging math and science classes at school. The classes that I took at ACC were US History, Gov and Econ, and Art. I took ceramics, which was actually hard because I missed a lot of ceramics classes and I almost failed. What I did was I took a lot of the classes that I didn't care about so much at the local community college because it wasn't as good of an education as my high school was, so that I could focus on the things I was really interested in high school and take more math and science. The only other notable thing was I was in double advanced math, so I tested out of some years of math. I think I did that in middle school though. Yeah, I got good grades, mostly because my mom was crazy and I was not allowed to do anything if I was not getting good grades. What's funny is my high school does rankings. Actually, I should give a little bit more background on my high school. We do the AP program. The class size is about 600 to 800 people, and they rank the top 10%, but they don't rank anybody outside of the top 10%. What's funny is growing up, I just worked hard and I got good grades because my mom was not going to let me do shit if I wasn't getting good grades. And then the rankings come out your sophomore year of high school, and I was shocked by the ranking. I think I was number 20 or 22 in our class, and that was so unexpected. I just don't think I realized that I was smart. But it's such a self-reinforcing cycle because I found out that I was ranked 20 in the class and I was so excited and so motivated to keep working hard and keep getting good grades. But I also found that the opposite can happen for other people. I know my brother wasn't in the top 10% and it was really heartbreaking and hard for him. I don't know. It can really be a different experience for different people, and I recognize that. But for me, that was the first time I actually realized that I was smart. Next thing I want to talk about is my family background. My mom is from Venezuela. She is quite the character. She taught me a lot, as well as made my life extremely difficult. I'll briefly tell her story. My mom grew up in Venezuela on a farm just outside of Caracas. My mom was extremely intense and hardworking at school. She ended up getting a scholarship to go to UT Austin to get her MBA. And she has extremely high, bordering on unreasonable standards that she imposes on my brother and I, which has both good and bad outcomes. I think in the long term, I developed the same standards for myself, but I also think it made my mom and I's relationship pretty bad. Next, my grandma is from Tenerife and she lives in our house. She's basically lived with us in Austin my whole life. She doesn't speak any English. Because of her, we mostly speak Spanish at home. That was such a benefit for me because I got to be fluent in Spanish without ever having to try. My family is upper middle class. Pretty much we didn't have money to do the things that I was doing. All of my tennis academies, my mom negotiated discounts. Every time that I would go to a private lesson, my mom would be haggling with the instructor right in front of me, and I always was so embarrassed about that. But I think it taught me a lot of things about just shamelessly going for what you want, because my mom always got what she wanted. It was crazy. For tennis tournaments, I would never travel with the team because it was too expensive, so I would go with my parents and we would stay at Super 8s and really sketchy places. That was a really good thing in the long term because it just teaches you not to be a baby about shit and to be appreciative. Every time that I get my nails done, I, one, feel tremendous guilt because my mom would be like, why are you wasting your money? But two, I feel grateful to be in a place that I can get my nails done. What did I write my essays about? So I do not remember the prompts, and I don't remember all of the essays, but these are the ones I do remember. I wrote one about teaching tennis lessons. I wrote another about doing tricks off of the diving board in the public springs in Austin, Barton Springs, if you know Austin. I wrote one about overcoming fear of failure and shyness. I used the diving board at the public springs as a metaphor. MIT has a space for an extra essay. Definitely fill out the extra essay. I remember I wrote that one about wanting to help people with osteoporosis. When I was going into college, I wanted to study chemical engineering and I wanted to do biomedical applications. And, you know, I didn't know shit about how to help people with osteoporosis, but I'm sure I did some research and I just wrote a little essay about how that was my motivation for chemical engineering. The last thing I want to leave you guys with, and maybe the most important, is what people are actually like. There are lots of reasons why students are admitted to MIT. Each person has their personality trait that makes them excellent. That could be a skill with building things by hand. It could be having a go-getter, founder mindset. Or it could be being a math genius. I could name people that fit into each of those three categories. Everybody's different, but everybody is special in some way. For me, it is my work ethic and my internal locus of control. What I mean by that is the discipline and the motivation to do anything I set my mind to. My advice to anyone who cares to listen is to figure out what your spike is, what your excellent trait is, and figure out how you can leverage that to get what you want out of life. Alright, that is everything that I have to share with you guys today. I hope this is helpful for someone.